Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you had a peaceful day and altogether a peaceful beginning of the week. Today, we're a tiny bit later, but I had a wonderful interview today with Dr. Newman. She's Montana Senator and also founder of Global First Ladies Alliance. Her alliance has organized the high profile meeting at the UN General Assembly that week at the United Nations headquarters in New York. That's where we connected, and we recorded an interview about diplomatic soft and smart power and what her organization does, how they work with first ladies, what is their priority, and also I asked some personal questions as to what keeps her hopeful these days because she's a Democratic senator and what is being done. So this will premiere towards the end of this week. Please keep an eye on it. And if you're not subscribed, why? Why? Okay, so please subscribe, please like this and share so more people will be exposed to actual factual information. And I never put those things, but let's put them up right here. Why is it blue? Anyway, so you can subscribe to Onest Network to get your free briefing, free newsletter, Monday through Friday. There is no paywall, and if you want to support, there's ways to donate or join Onest Plus as a subscriber and join us for Friday off the record meetings. Okay, let me change this. Why is this blue? Okay, this has to be different. Come on now. Yeah, at least that. Very weird. Interesting. I don't like blue. Okay, never mind. Let's keep it blue. I guess it's a blue day today. Never mind. But hi, Stephen. Hello. Good Tuesday. Good Tuesday. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Today, what we're going to talk about, let me put out the banner. I really don't like the blue stuff. Okay, never mind. What we're going to talk about today is, of course, government shutdown. Today is day 14. And now it becomes a bit more painful because tomorrow, some folks will be missing their paychecks. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the No Kings protest that is planned for October 18th. This is now number 2, protest number 2. And I will explain how we can connect and you would allow me to report on this live. And also, of course, today is the visit of the Argentinian president, Milei, to the White House, what happened there. Altogether, to sort of preview, Trump used this as an opportunity to hit his opposition being Democratic, yes, leadership, but also anybody who did not vote for him specifically. And yeah, some weird statements, kind of hinting that doesn't really understand some things, like some economic terms and simple terms. Also, some weird information about BRICS falling apart, which we certainly have not heard of. Certainly, I'm referring to the BRICS alliance. And yeah, so let's start actually a little bit, with national news, and let's talk about the shutdown. 2 weeks into the government shutdown, its economic toll is starting to bite. More furloughed federal workers will miss their paycheck due this Wednesday, tomorrow. A development likely to dampen consumer spending to engine of U.S. economic growth. The shutdown has already caused flight delays, national park closures, and outages on IRS phone lines. Yet neither Democrats nor Republicans show urgency in resolving the standoff. Why do I say that? Because we don't see any negotiation. We don't see any push for negotiation. We also don't see any, from a Democratic leadership. I wish to see more push. I wish to see more recognition as to who is holding whom hostage. Are you catching what I'm throwing? Because everything everywhere, whether you go to CDC website, whether you go to any airport or any federal building, it screams that it is a Democratic shutdown. Who is screaming back? Because I believe being polite and wonderful in this poop throwing competition is not really helping anybody. So for that reason, what are we actually doing? That would be wonderful to kind of explore. Let's check some comments here. The same story with Democratic leadership is in Congress. So weak, right? And I mean, are we meeting the moment? That is my question. Are we meeting the moment? Because I don't feel like we do. That's my 2 cents. Now, as to No Kings protest, it's spreading nationwide. It's being planned for October 18th. Yes, it will be peaceful, and I urge you to be peaceful. If you want to dance in a frog costume, hint, hint, do it. A second wave of No Kings protest against the Trump administration is planned across the United States this Saturday. House Majority Leader has dismissed this movement as a hate America rally, which it is not, obviously, but take a look what he had to say.
Even during a time where the contrast of Chuck Schumer throwing a temper tantrum here at home just to appease the most radical elements of his base, so that on the 18th, when they have the Hate America rally that everybody knows is coming, and that everybody knows Chuck Schumer needs to deliver a shutdown government to them to appease them. Well, how about you think about us? How about you think about those families?
How about you think about us? How about you think about us losing insurance, not being paid, being furloughed, not being even promised to be paid, because that's now being reconsidered as well. How about us? Why is it always about you? Now, in a widely criticized remark, Speaker Mike Johnson said remember a priest being shot with pepper balls? Remember? That happened when the priest got shot by ICE that was positioned on a rooftop and shot the priest that was peacefully protesting and praying. Well, Speaker Mike Johnson says it's okay. It's okay being shot with pepper balls, and journalists being arrested doesn't cross the line, but naked bicyclists do. The nudists that sort of joined the protest. Here's Mike Johnson.
Can I answer that question? Yes, sir. To demand oversight on federal law enforcement? Well, I've not seen them cross the line yet, and that we have committees of jurisdiction who have that responsibility, but it's not risen to that level. What I've seen is the abuse of law enforcement by radical leftist activists. Most recently, the most threatening thing I've seen yet was the naked bicyclers in Portland who were protesting ICE down there. I mean, it's getting really ugly. They have attacked, physically assaulted officers. People have been arrested, okay? This is serious business. And ICE and the valiant, brave, patriotic Americans who step up to serve in these dangerous law enforcement positions deserve our respect and our support.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, now Fox News reports that there is a bounty on those ICE members. I have not seen any reporting anywhere but on Fox News about that. I want to present it for what it is, but know that Fox News is the only source of this type of news. Take a look.
Top of a new hour here as we approach it. Breaking right now, as we just mentioned, narco-terrorists in Mexico are reportedly working in coordination with domestic extremist groups to place bounties worth thousands of dollars on the heads of federal immigration officers in Chicago. That is according to DHS, who are now slamming what they are.
Yes, it is according to DHS, but also DHS is playing videos all across the airports, major airports in America. And some of the major airports, those in Las Vegas, in Portland, in Seattle, in New York City, in Charlotte, and many other cities, are refusing to play this video featuring Secretary Noem saying that this is a governmental shutdown due to Democrats refusing to obey their idea of investing trillion whatever dollars into illegal migrants getting insurance. All of this is bogus. So if we see DHS as the only source for this information and then Fox News as the only one that spreads it, I'll let you make up your own opinion. Now, as to King's protest, or No Kings, rather, protest, I urge you to email me here, media@onestnetwork.com, ONEST network.com, wherever you are, whether you are joining this protest in the U.S., maybe perhaps in Canada or other countries. Some have contacted me that were in other countries as well, asking if it's okay. Yes. Small country, small town, a big city like New York or whatever, wherever you're joining, if you don't mind sharing your footage with me, this would allow me to cover this live for all of us to see in real time on Saturday. So please email me if you don't mind sharing footage. You can say, don't credit me, I will not mention your name. You can say, credit me, I will mention your name, your social media, whatever you desire. Just put it in one email, and I will send you by Friday. I will send everybody a link to our Dropbox, secure Dropbox, just accessible by me personally, where I will get that footage in real time and present it as real-time coverage on Saturday. So Onest Network does not have reporters everywhere, but I have you guys. So please, if you don't mind, send pictures, snaps, whatnot. You don't have to put your face. Please don't put your face on it if you don't want to. Could be videos, could be photos, whatever. So I can cover it in real time on Saturday, the No Kings protest. So please email media at onestnetwork.com so we can get connected and I can provide the coverage. Now, as to photos, our president is very disappointed with Time magazine. Not because Time magazine did not put him on the cover, they did. Not because they praised him on that cover, they did. Not because they followed the lie about the peace in the Middle East, they did. But what they did not is actually use a favorable picture. So you see here, the neck, the hair, the everything. So Trump is very upset about this. He wrote on Truth Social at 2 a.m., "The photo is probably the worst in history. They removed my hair and added something floating above my head, like a tiny crown. Very strange. I've never liked photos taken from below, but this one is just terrible and should be withdrawn. Aren't we sensible?" But, it still says his triumph. It says that, Gaza will heal now. He's the leader that Israel needed. None of it is true. Now, meanwhile, peace agreement that was signed yesterday in Egypt that I read out on live stream yesterday. And then today I realized that somehow it was leaked to me because nobody else got this agreement. And whoever I talked to, including senators, I'm like, you saw the agreement, it's bogus. They're like, we didn't see the agreement. Then other very reputable organizations say, well, there's a picture that somebody took and they zoomed in and they saw 2 sentences of the agreement and it kind of sounds bogus. I said, I have the actual goddamn agreement. They're like, really? We don't. So naturally, I put the agreement in tonight's newsletter. Go read it. I read it out loud yesterday on live stream here, but I have put it in the, to save the time here, I put it in our agreement there. So if you're not subscribed yet, go to onestnetwork.com, get your free briefing. There's no paywall. So you can read factual, actual news and put your, your label on it, whether you think this is the big breakthrough or not. But here's some facts. At this peace summit in Egypt yesterday, Trump and leaders of Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey signed the document outlining only vague principles like, we believe in world freedom, and specifically Gaza's future. Crucially, Israel and Hamas, the two that are fighting, did not sign the agreement, nor were they even there at the peace summit, which underscores the steep obstacles for lasting resolution because none of them has promised to stop fighting, which is actually the whole point of that peace thing in the Egypt, right? So yesterday I showed you this tweet by the defense minister of Israel promising to cleanse Gaza and start bombing those tunnels. Okay, we can say if it's right, if it's not. This is not for us to judge, but okay, just presenting the facts. But then I also showed you the video that the leader of Hamas, or representative of Hamas, who gave interview to Sky News, said, no, we're not going to disarm. And this is supposed to be the stage 2, and there are no other stages that are agreed upon or even actually finalized and, like do this, do that, sort of like Biden did a year ago. where I want to show you this tweet. Let's remind ourselves. This was the coverage, live coverage during RNC and DNC, right? Where it says, on U.S. peace negotiations between Israel and Gaza, the reporting is that former President Trump, at that point he was former, urging him not to cut a deal, not urging Netanyahu not to cut the deal right now because it's believed that it would help Harris' campaign. So whatever they agreed upon was already agreed upon by Biden. Biden did way actually bigger job securing lasting peace in Gaza. Why do I know that? Because I have ears and I listen to information, and I did report on Biden and Biden's pool. Secretary Blinken and others, Gordon as well, were in Israel for months and they were negotiating. And the whole point was of the Biden administration is not to leave Gaza or Palestine altogether to be ruled neither by Israel nor by Hamas. So you needed a third entity. Third entity being any foreign government would, legally justify what? A takeover, which of course they didn't want to advocate for. So what they came up with is police force. And this police, based off Palestinians with no connection to Hamas, would be supported, trained, and financed by France, England, and United States. This was already ready and agreed with Hamas and agreed with the Knesset, the parliament of Israel. And Netanyahu was postponing it until the day of inauguration, Trump's inauguration. Because of that, if you remember, that day, some Israeli hostages were released. But that agreement didn't go through because Israel and ultimately Netanyahu did not agree to that because he had Trump and there were the plans of Gaza, Trump-Gaza. Because as we find out now, former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, together with Boston Consulting Group, has been working on the Trump-Gaza project for years. Hence, it is ready, and there are cities for sale. Hence, the whole Egypt deal, where Qatar and Saudis and all can buy those cities and work with Trump and then possibly buy him out. So let's see a thing for what it is. As I always say, keep your head on a swivel. Now, what happens today? Obviously, there's no peace deal, so everybody's blaming each other. Here you see, this is former, somebody who worked for Treasury, says, well, Hamas is not disarming, is slaughtering its opponents, not returning bodies, right? Because yesterday we celebrated 20 living hostages returning, but 28 remains of those 28 who died in captivity were not returned, seemingly. Trump needs to come down like a ton of bricks on our friends in Doha and Ankara. Well, don't hold your breath. Now, as to Israel, right? Now, Palestine is claiming that Israeli forces opened fire on Palestinians, killing 5 during the ceasefire. The IDF claims they crossed the yellow line. Local reports say they were inspecting bombed homes. So much for a post. If there is nothing that constitutes a peace deal, obviously it will be violated. Nor it is actually violated because there's nothing to violate. It's just same old. Now, I put the agreement so you can read it because I have the thing open here. But the situation around Gaza is tense. So Hamas fighters were seen redeploying across parts of Gaza in the hours following a major hostage prisoner exchange. According to Reuters, Hamas also killed dozens and cracked down on rival groups over the weekend. Asked about Hamas rearming, Trump said, quote, "We gave them approval for a period of time to stop the problems." Israel reported firing on individuals who crossed the initial withdrawal boundary today, as I mentioned. Meanwhile, hundreds of aid and commercial trucks have entered Gaza since Saturday. UN Development expects estimate $70 billion will be needed to rebuild Gaza after 2 years of war. Now, you understand what type of investment Trump needs from the Saudi and alike France. Humanitarian agencies say aid deliveries remain far below what's needed. Now, Trump was asked about those displacement concerns when he was in Israel yesterday, and I want to show you the video, what he had to say. Take a look.
I want to ask you about the Palestinian people, more than 2 million of them inside Gaza. They're worried that the result of this deal could lead to them being displaced from their homes or being forced to leave Gaza. What would you tell them about this peace plan?
Well, the beauty is we have some of the richest countries in the world, and you know the countries I'm talking about, and they're headed by people that really were helpful and people that I know and that I think are tremendous people. And it's not always popular to say that, but I'm telling you, they're incredible leaders and there's some incredible people. They control vast amounts of wealth, and they're willing to spend that wealth to make things good at Gaza. You could call it the old Gaza Strip in Gaza. And when you look at the destruction, and even before the war, it was a hellhole, let's face it. Before this, before the bombing and everything else, people were living in tents, and they were living very much like they're living now. This is obviously worse because so many buildings are down, but a lot of buildings were just falling down, and they were falling because it's had nothing but wars for so many years. So there's a great opportunity. We have countries of great wealth, enormous wealth. We're a fraction of their wealth.
Please describe Trump Gaza in other terms. Then today, Trump met with Milei. I'm going to talk about that later, but he was asked there. It was sort of like a cabinet meeting. Everybody was there praising him. Milei was there praising him. Everybody's praising Trump. And he was asked about Hamas not willing to disarm. Take a look what he had to say.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes, you say
because
quickly.
everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay.
What is
next.
the deadline you're going to put on that? You say quickly, sir. Sir, you said quickly, but what is the deadline you're going to put on that before you take
period
action?
of time, pretty quickly.
Mr.
A
President.
reasonable period of time.
Congratulations.
Steven says, I get so nauseous listening to anything Trump says. As long as you have money, you're wonderful people, regardless of anything else. Exactly. Remember yesterday was shaking hands with the somebody from UAE delegation. Cash. They have unlimited cash. I mean, listen. This is interesting. Irene, thank you for being Honest Plus subscriber. Thank you. FYI, the warplanes are nonstop roaring and shaking above my cabin in the middle of national forest in Big Sur, similar to before Iraq-Afghanistan wars. Whoa. Thank you for reporting on this. I'll check right away when I'm done here. I'll take a screenshot of this. Let's see what. Yeah, I mean, it happens. For me, it's explained as Trump Gaza has to move forth. That means you have to get rid of tunnels. Tunnels are very far underneath the ground. So how are you going to bomb them? Probably they used, remember them bombing Iran to test what the heck do we have, where B-2s were used, and what can be done here. Now, meanwhile, Speaker Johnson says, quote, I'm proud to tell you that together with my friend Speaker Ohana of Israeli Knesset, we're going to embark on a project together to rally speakers and presidents of parliaments around the world so they will jointly nominate President Trump for next year's Nobel Peace Prize. No one has ever deserved that prize more, and that is an objective fact. Can we stop talking about Nobel Peace Prize? I understand that all these nominations close on January something, and yeah, she's probably going to get it. Now, for nothing. Next, let's talk about NATO and Russia. Today, Secretary General Rutte appeared in a televised programming, and he delivered some very interesting remarks. So here he painted a bleak picture of Russia's weakened military. Quote, Russia's Mediterranean task force was once a mix of surface ships, submarines, and support vessels. Now there is hardly any Russian naval presence left. There is a lone broken submarine limping home from patrol, which happens now. What a change from 1984 Tom Clancy novel, The Hunt of the Red October. Today, it seems more like the hunt of the nearest mechanic. And by the way, since Russia does not welcome help of anybody else, these people are about to literally suffocate inside that submarine, which certainly reminds us on the occurrence that happened a few years back. Now, in China and Taiwan, he says if China decides to move against Taiwan, it will likely push its junior partner, Russia, to act against NATO in order to distract us. And, well, here's Secretary General Rutte.
For example, China would move against Taiwan. It's highly likely that China will force the junior partner in that relationship, being Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, to move against NATO here, to keep us busy. For all these reasons, we have to make sure that we work as strongly together with them. And then on the hybrid threats, this is, of course, a big worry, and we are working on it.
Well, you know what else he said on those threats? As long as they don't pose a threat, we will gently guide them. He's talking about Russian airspace incursions. We will gently guide them out of our airspace. It's proportional response. We're so much stronger than the Russians. If we were weak, maybe we'd shoot them down immediately, but being stronger, our reaction is proportionate. Germany's BND chief Martin Jäger warned lawmakers Russia could escalate to a hot confrontation with Europe at short notice, urging preparations sooner than the oft-cited 2029 timeline. Also, Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski added, quote, Putin will end this war only when he realizes starting it was a mistake. Russia can lose the war, just as it lost before to Britain, Japan, Poland, and the Afghan Mujahideen. Secretary Rutte, or Secretary General Rutte, you are Secretary General of NATO, which is a defense alliance. And when a country, an enemy, is violating, even though peacefully violating the country under your alliance, which is part of your alliance, their airspace, nothing should be gently in this. You gently have to direct to get them the hell out. And you do it once. You can do once guiding them out. And if they violate it again, that it's a conscious, repeated attack and violation of the airspace of those allies who you're presiding upon. So your job is to be in charge and make sure it doesn't happen for the third time. And I mean, it's countless times that it already happened at this point. So what gently are we talking about? As to Ukraine front, President Zelensky welcomed EU foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas, who, by the way, was very much considered to become Secretary General of NATO until Rutte, out of nowhere, was appointed. Praising her strong support for Ukraine, they discussed sanctions, frozen Russian assets, defense cooperation, and the creation of a special tribunal. Take a look.
Good to see you. Welcome. You're very welcome as always. I'm thankful for your support and all what's been done by your side. And I hope that you will be with us on this week.
Thank you for having us. It's always good to be back here. The only one who doesn't want peace is Russia. So what can we do so that they would also want peace?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm certain that she did not talk about gently guiding Russian drones away from somebody else's airspace. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Prime Minister Svyridenko is in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, I reported that the discussions with IMF and World Bank have kicked off in Washington, D.C., so she's attending the meetings. And she said that Ukraine is focused on energy security, sanctions policy, and expanding U.S. cooperation. She briefed partners on intensified Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy grid. Now, as to occupation and domestic Russian crisis, Russia seized 25,000 Ukrainian homes. According to Le Figaro, Russian occupiers have seized 25,000 homes in occupied Ukrainian regions, once declared ownerless, often because owners fled or died. Residents have 30 days to reclaim them with the Russian passport. Otherwise, the state of Russia takes ownership. And then we have all those clowns who'd say, oh, well, you have to give Russia Donetsk and Lugansk and all these regions because what? Russia is declaring property and land as their own state-owned spot and place and, whatever. So what are we doing? Now, but did you know that Russia has a diamond capital? How would you imagine a diamond capital to be? Something like Doha, something like, pick any spot in Saudi Arabia, right? Something very prosperous, so to speak. Not really. Well, Russian diamond spot and the capital is Yakutsk. And there, one of the folks, I'm going to show you the video of this diamond capital, but it is in Russian, so I'll explain. They say, we save other countries, bomb them, but we don't really need to be bombed. We already bombed everything ourselves. Despite the region's diamond wealth, central streets are lined with crumbling Soviet-era housing. Yakutia's richest, critics say, have gone to palaces in Rublovka, which is a very fancy area for Russian billionaires and millionaires near Moscow, and their propaganda and war. So this is how the I don't have the video. I do. I should. Wait a second. I should have the video. I don't have the video. Let me search for this video while I talk about the next thing. Or actually, let me search now. Meanwhile, please comment. Please ask any questions, and I'll show it to you. I think I have the video. No. Let me see. I have the video. I just edited it. Come on. Yes, I do have the video. Let me just upload it real quick. And I'll show you that diamond district. And it's actually all together. It's very interesting how Russia is bowing to China, bowing to North Korea, asking, even as far as Azerbaijan for help. Putin even admitted that Russian forces did shoot their plane, but blamed Ukrainian drones for it over Grozny, which, it's not really reachable for Ukraine at that point specifically. But it's very interesting how rich Russia is and how little they actually invest in their own infrastructure. And the video is ready. This is Russia's Diamond District. Take a look.
Газ они провели себе, да. Баллон, да. Есть такие дома, где вообще ушли под землю. Люди там живут, много земли берут. Это же. Вот мы другие страны спасаем, бомбим. А нас, в принципе, бомбить не надо. Мы все тут разбавляем.
Right? The richest area in Russia where they get diamonds and all that stuff. And then this is how people live. Do you think they have toilet inside the house? I doubt it. Or gas or electricity or water. Didn't look like it. Meanwhile, the United States bombed the 5th boat with what they said suspected drug smugglers linked to a terrorist group. Didn't say which terrorist group. Didn't say what the heck they were smuggling. Probably average fishermen. We don't know. Because habeas corpus, Trump says, who? Can I deport him? We don't really know what happens. Why do we assassinate people and then film it and then broadcast it by the Secretary of Defense Hexes? Take a look. This is the video right here. He's showing how they target the boat, tiny boat, that could never make it to Miami or any part of the United States. They said this should go to Florida. What drugs? With so much personnel on the boat, they would need to carry almost the whole weight of that boat with gasoline or, and to ensure it can travel to the United States at this point. So, but we don't investigate. And we broadcast it. So that's probably how the families of those people found out that they will not return. Meanwhile, newly minted Nobel Peace Prize recipient Maria Corina Machado, remember the one that dedicated her prize to Trump? She was on Don Jr.'s podcast. I don't want to preview it. I want you to experience yourself and have the same expression that I had this morning. Take a look.
Forget about Saudi Arabia. Forget about the Saudis. We have more oil. Infinite potential. And we're going to open markets. We're going to kick off the government from the oil sector. We are going to privatize all our industries. Venezuela has huge resources: oil, gas, minerals, land, technology. And as you said before, we have a strategic location, hours from the United States. So we're going to do this right. We know what we have to do. And American companies are in, super strategic position to invest. This country, Venezuela, is going to be the brightest opportunity for investment of American companies, of good people that are going to make a lot of money.
So everything is for sale. Obviously, this is, somebody commented fascist in waiting. I do not agree or disagree, but it kind of looks like she's ready to sell to the United States. Obviously, it kind of looks very sus. Dedicating Trump, her price to Trump, then aligning with, his rhetoric. Everything is for sale. We would love to buy out Venezuela's resources. And then ultimately doing that on Don Jr.'s podcast. Very interesting. Now, meanwhile, Trump welcomed, of course, Javier Milei, the leader of Argentina, at the White House. Looked like this. Okay, and then they had the one-on-one meeting, and then it was this, as I mentioned, sort of like a cabinet-looking like session where Secretary Hexas was there, J.D. Vance, Besant, everybody, Rubio, everybody was seated there talking to reporters willingly or unwillingly, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But altogether, Trump welcomed Argentina's now President Milei to the White House, calling him MAGA all the way.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to have the leader of Argentina, a place that I love, I've been to, and one of the most beautiful places in the world, President. And I really want to thank you very much. He's MAGA all the way. It's make Argentina great again. I heard about him when he was campaigning, and even before his campaign. He's a great economist, and he was saying a lot of very correct things, and he was very much in a conservative mode. And I heard all about you as you were running and even before you were running, because as a tremendously talented economist, you were getting a lot of good write-ups, and I appreciated that. But he was make Argentina great again. It worked. I actually sent him some hats for his early part of the campaign, and then he called me. He wanted a lot more, and I said, "When does it stop? When will it stop?" And it stopped with him winning, and he's become very popular, and he's on the verge of a breakthrough. I think he's really on the verge of tremendous economic success, and I know that Scott Bessent is helping. And our great Scott is doing the job, and he feels very strongly about it. And
well, such a good economist that we're bailing out Argentina with our own hard-earned $20 billion. And if you haven't read the deep dive on Argentina last week, please comment that you haven't read it. Then I'll put the link to the newsletter and deep dive, where I connected the billionaire in Argentina to Besant, because he's his best buddy, whom he bailing out, how we are buying pesos, keeping their currency artificially alive, and completely aligning it with our everything for sale strategy. How fantastic. And then Trump was asked, what do you get for bailing out Argentina? Take a look.
For Argentina, what's the benefit for United States in helping this way Argentina?
Just helping a great philosophy take over a great country. Argentina is one of the most beautiful countries that I've ever seen. And we want to see it succeed. Very simple. I mean, we don't have to do it. It's not going to make a big difference for our country, but it will in terms of South America. If Argentina does well, you're going to have others following, and a lot of others are following.
Then he was asked about visiting Argentina, where somehow he ended up talking about Biden and his skinny legs.
Would you like to visit Argentina soon? There is an invitation for that.
What does that mean?
Do you like to visit Argentina soon?
I do. I would love to. I'm just a little busy. I would love to. I'd love to go to Argentina. I'd like to be like Biden. I'd like to go to the beach. My legs are not quite as thin as his. My legs are slightly heavier. My arms are slightly larger. My body is a little bit larger than his. I'm not sure it would be appreciated on the beach, but I'm not going to take a chance. You won't see me in a bathing suit. You won't see in a bathing suit sitting on a beach in Argentina, falling down, not being able to lift it.
And then he was asked about BRICS, and then he mentioned that somehow BRICS is falling apart, brick by brick. Altogether, BRICS has nothing to do with a house or bricks that are, building a house. BRICS is not falling apart. BRICS, in fact, is discussing having their own currency. And I heard it from the diplomats who work on the BRICS. They showed me the documents where all the BRICS members did sign it. I saw it at the UN General Assembly week in diplomatic breakfast. So nobody's leaving BRICS, but here's Trump talking about it.
I told anybody wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS. And BRICS is like, they don't even talk about it anymore. Scott, you want to add to that?
Just because you stopped hearing about BRICS, it doesn't mean it does not exist. Now, he then also joked about Zelensky asking for tomahawks. I mean, let's paint the picture. Ukraine is in survival mode, fighting for the fourth year for its sovereignty. It's being invaded. People are dying. Civilians are being targeted. Kids and women, civilians every day are dying. Asking for tomahawks to pay back, to make sure Russia does not want to go further. They feel the pain of the invasion and the pain they caused. But Trump is joking. It's very funny. It's really, really funny to joke about Zelensky willing to have the tomahawks.
So it's a little bit like that with, if you take a look.
No, wrong video.
I told anybody wants to be in BRICS.
Oh, let's find the right one.
Look, I'm very disappointed because Vladimir.
No. Anyway, I'm going to read it out. He joked about tomahawks, and he said, he turned to Milei, and he said, everybody wants tomahawks. Everybody really, really wants tomahawks. Maybe you in Argentina, do you need tomahawks? Do you want to buy from us tomahawks? Argentina, whom we are bailing out with $20 billion investment. And then he talked about Putin saying how disappointed in him he is.
Meeting going on. Look, I'm very disappointed because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war. This war has been so bad for him. He's going into 4 years of a war that he should have won that war in 1 week.
Really? Instead of praising Ukrainians who were underprepared, underfunded, not really able to defeat Russia, and yet they kind of did. In Kiev, they withdrew. They did not take Kiev, which they want to take within 3 days. In fact, the army that marched upon Kiev, they had their parade attire with them. And they had the whole schedule. Take Kiev by noon, parade at 2 p.m. It's a very well-known fact. So instead of supporting Ukrainians, we're now laughing because Ukrainians want tomahawks to buy tomahawks. And we're laughing that, Putin should have won a week. Well, maybe we should say who should have won an election or something like that. But also, Trump refused taking questions from ABC News. The video that went viral on our Instagram, if you don't follow, Onest Network has an Instagram, and there is just sarcastic, interesting content, which is entertainment, aside from the serious coverage that I do. And there I showed the video of Stephanopoulos essentially talking to J.D. Vance about Tom Homan, our border czar, accepting the $50,000 bribe, which was then recorded in audio recording by FBI. It was the whole thing. And he confronted him about it, and J.D. Vance played a snake and said, no, maybe he earned at some point $50,000 because he earns much, blah, 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 but did not answer the question to the point where Stephanopoulos said, okay, well, thank you for your time, but you did not answer the question. J.D. Vance said, you go into liberal rabbit hole. He said, this is not a rabbit hole. And ultimately he said, thank you for your time. and started, went to a commercial. And J.D. Vance felt that, well, he was left alone, so to speak. As a payback in this retribution, Trump did not want to answer questions from ABC News. Take a look.
Your ABC fake news. I don't want. Go ahead, Brian, please.
First of all, congratulations.
I don't take questions from ABC fake news. After what you did with Stephanopoulos to the Vice President of the United States, I don't take questions from ABC fake news. Brian.
Oh, well, meanwhile, Eric Trump is praising the White House and how, now they managed to make White House resemble Mar-a-Lago. All that happened on Fox News.
And speaking of terrific, what a fantastic view across the street. That is the Beach Club. And in fact, those are the umbrellas from the Rose Garden, I believe.
Exact same umbrellas at the Rose Garden. And by the way, that beautiful flagpole right there?
Yeah.
The exact same flagpole that we have at the White House. I got a call from my father. He goes, honey, I need 2 great flagpoles. I want to donate them to the White House. And we're very happy to have the same Mar-a-Lago flagpole on the south and north grounds now.
All right.
But Trump also didn't end the cabinet melee meeting there. He actually attacked Zoran Mamdani, who runs for mayor of New York City, saying also that, well, he will not be sending any money to New York City, where we pay goddamn tax. Maybe we shouldn't be sending money to DC, but okay. If Mamdani were to win, take a look.
Communist who's 33 years old, doesn't know a damn thing. Practically, he's never worked a day in his life. And he sort of caught on, right? And I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. I don't have to. The money comes all through the White House. And if they're going to be sending us stupid policies, communist policies, which is proven for thousands of years doesn't work, we don't have to prove it again.
When state owns companies or percentages of companies and they become state owned, what is it called? I'll let you with that. But he also said that if Milei were to lose his election, well, then Argentina is not going to get any money. So we're bailing out Milei personally. So vote for him or you're going to starve type of thing. Take a look.
You have the money to pay the troops on October 15th? Okay.
Wrong video. Let's try.
So it's a little bit like that with, if you take a look at Argentina, if the president doesn't win, I know the person that he'd be running against, I believe, probably. We probably have the person. A person is extremely far left and a philosophy that got Argentina into this problem in the first place. So we would not be generous with Argentina if that happened. If he loses, we are not going to be generous with Argentina. Okay?
Again, please read the deep dive on the connection between Vicente and the billionaire in Argentina, whom we are essentially bailing out. And lastly, the video that I showed you on accident before. Trump was asked that he directed the Department of Defense to use any funds available to pay our troops as long as we are in the shutdown, where he claimed that actually he has an investor to take over on that.
You have the money to pay the troops on October 15th? Okay.
I actually have a man who is a very wealthy person, you'll know that when I tell you this, who called a donor, a great gentleman, and he said, if there's any money necessary, shortfall, for the paying of the troops, then I will pay it, meaning he will pay it. How about that?
National news. OpenAI signed a deal to design its own AI chips, and they also want to do it elsewhere, not in the US. But the Supreme Court rejected Alex Jones' appeal in the $1.4 billion Sandy Hook defamation case. Remember, he claimed that the Sandy Hook terror was some type of hoax, and obviously it was not, and he is about to pay up. Financiers are pushing risky investments in private equity and crypto, echoing 1929. Also, coal miners protested the administration's failure to protect them from black lung disease. And they, by the way, said specifically Trump administration. SpaceX Starship completed an hour-long test flight before splashing down in Indian Ocean. NASA's acting administrator, Duffy, called it a major step toward 2027 moon landing, but SpaceX is not really sure that they can reach the moon before the Chinese will do, and they have about 2 years to complete that mission. A powerful storm devastated western Alaska, killing at least one and displacing over 1,000 people. This is horrific. It's ongoing. Do they get support? No. Do they get enough coverage? No. I'll do a deep dive on that. But 51, at that point when I checked, 51 people have been located. But we don't really know what is the impact in that region until actually everybody has been located, because as I mentioned, 1,000 people were displaced. Literally their houses were destroyed, and at that point of the coverage, one person was deceased. Several major U.S. airports, as I mentioned, refused to air DHS video blaming Democrats for the shutdown. Also, markets plunged after Trump threatened tariffs on Chinese imports, with Bitcoin dropping from 122,500 or 122,500 to 104,600. Also, the Army plans to privatize 10 more dining facilities within 18 months. So at this point, it's very much representing national security threat, because anybody can poison them, anybody can do whatever to them, because through food you have access to our troops. So, okay. Now, major media outlets, including New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, even Newsmax, rejected to the White House's new press policy. Well, it's specifically Pentagon's press policy, and only One America Network, OAN, has signed to it. Access was asked about it today during that cabinet meeting. Please listen to that. And then I have a readout by Pentagon Press Association that does accredit journalists what they have to say about what this restriction is about. So take a look at Access, then we dive in.
Well, I very much appreciate the question, because it was interesting to watch. We had a chance to go along on the historic trip of Middle East peace, which our generation of veterans never dreamed would be possible. So you would think that the Pentagon press corps of all press corps would be front and center across the board on wanting to give credit to the president for forging this kind of peace, and instead what they want to talk about is a policy about them, which simply says maybe the policy should look like the White House or other military installations, where you have to wear a badge that identifies that you're press, or you can't just roam anywhere you want. It used to be, Mr. President, the press could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the Pentagon, the most classified area in the world. Or also that if they sign on to the credentialing, they're not going to try to get soldiers to break the law by giving them classified information. So it's common sense stuff, Mr. President. We're trying to make sure national security is respected, and we're proud of the policy.
When I posted about coverage, I got so much hate today, saying that you don't have to have physical access to Pentagon to report on it. You don't say. Obviously, you don't. Like, I was at the G7, I reported on it, but let's say I wasn't in the recent Asia summit in China that Putin and Modi and all attended, and I cover it. I also wasn't at the Millet meeting, and I am covering it. Maybe better than those who were in the meeting. That's beside the point. But what you need to understand, which rightfully so you don't know, if you're not a journalist who has covered the White House or Pentagon, you don't know it. But official credential with a badge is one story, where you have access to the building. And people say, oh, CNN and others don't need to hop around Pentagon. We have to understand that once Hexeth came in and Trump came into power, they canceled out offices there. So nobody is hoping or hoking or sitting on their behinds inside Pentagon. Also, nobody was walking around Pentagon accessing, with access to any buildings or rooms. This is also not true. But access to information, goes beyond the physical accreditation that you show to walk in. I covered Biden and Biden's pool. I did not cover Pentagon daily, but what we did have was off-the-record briefings with National Security Council, which is part of the White House team, also with Pentagon. We would have emails saying, off-the-record email. Pentagon usually was a call line with the phone. NSC was a Zoom meeting, audio only or with video sometimes. And you would get like a 10-minute notice. But when they were about to make a decision, or they produced a document which had an embargo, meaning we're going to send you a document now, it says embargo till this and this time on this and this day. But it would allow you to study the material, to familiarize yourself with it because you cover it, produce coverage, and launch it. Let's say embargo is at 6:01, you would publish it. So this way you would have your breaking news and it would be legitimate, right? Not like now, news is bypassed to Fox News, they present it, and now we hear it from Fox News, and we say, hey, breaking news, this and this, and source is Fox News, because Fox News is the only one with access to the source itself. And there you can also judge the quality of this breaking news. Is that a fat information or whatever? So not being able to be on that email list, to be on that phone call, email list is one story. You get access to original documents, which is very essential and important, because when it comes to DoD, every word, it has its significance. Yes, you read sometimes between the lines, but also specific phrases are very essential and important. Like, for instance, if DoD would produce a statement on China, the way they phrase themselves would be, really, are we going to war or not? Like, it's a very, very sensitive and decisive. We're not talking about sensitive information or something that is classified. We're talking about diplomacy here at this point. Now, not being on a call means not being able to ask questions. Not being able to join Zoom, not being able to ask questions. Also, if you did ask the question and the phrase is yours, so to speak, then others who cover that meeting and they refer to the question you obtained, they would need to credit you as a media outlet who asked that question. So it all comes also with reputation as well. Now, many say, well, use your sources. You're not a credible journalist. Please don't tell me what is credible journalist or not. You're not the one receiving tens of thousands of emails daily with threats. Also threats from current authoritarian leadership from different levels. You're not the one putting your name and your face up front for them to target. So please, credible or not, I believe in the 3 sources rule. I believe that if you break some type of news, you need to have 3 sources that are aligned. You also need to have actual documents. See, when we discussed this whole idea with Yesterday in Egypt, Time put him on the cover saying he saved Israel. Everybody's clapping, videos clapping, everybody clapping. Ask anybody who was there. They're all fascinated. But then I got the document, I read it, and I'm like, you can wrap your burger in it. I mean, maybe that's what it's good for, if it's not toxic, but nothing else. So having access to actual documents and memos is essential, because they also will punish people. First of all, they will accept people only with loyalty. They will fire those who don't want to pledge loyalty. So having access to facts will be very, very difficult. And it has little to do with physical access to Pentagon as a building. There are Air Force bases. There are different types of bases that you should have access to. So if you want to learn about it, please inquire. We can all discuss. We can learn from each other. But bashing somebody, when I said starting tomorrow, we will have lack of credible information and coverage from Pentagon, because what this OAN will do, or anybody who signs on this shit, they're just gonna resemble whatever they feed them without showing any documents, without showing absolutely anything. And same as they don't follow up about BRICS or anything sat in that goddamn cabinet type of meeting, same story will be there. So if you also disagree, learn to disagree. I understand that our emotions are now high and we're so, on the edge of it. But please, be decent, be human. That's what makes you stand out. So, also, Trump awarded now Charlie Kirk with the Presidential Medal of Freedom on what would have been his 32nd birthday today. As to comments, James, hi James, line the birdcage. Yeah. Okay, some quick global news real quick. Estonia ordered our army donor, a Russian army donor, to pay compensation to Ukraine. This is the new rule. So if somebody donates to Russian army, as a penalty, they have to donate, I think, ×3 to Ukrainian army. And of course, Estonia is part of Baltic states, who would be next, if Putin were to march further. Now, deadly floods in Mexico killed 64 people, and the bus crashed in South Africa, killing 42 people, including 7 children. Meanwhile, on October 13th, NATO launched its annual Steadfast Noon nuclear deterrence drills. On tech and diplomacy, Google will build its largest AI hub outside the US in India with $15 billion investment. In Madagascar, president fled the country amid protests and dissolved parliament. Remember, Gen Z was protesting, and now he fled. Now, China criticized the Dutch takeover of Chinese-owned chipmaker Nexperia. Remember, China passed the rule that anybody selling chips made in China or with Chinese technology or with materials sourced from China would need literal agreement from Xi Jinping to keep selling. Meanwhile, now Dutch authorities and the government has now nationalized the Chinese company inside the Netherlands to kind of combat that. But it's Chinese-owned chip maker Nexperia. Let's see what comes out of that. Xi Jinping, meanwhile, met Iceland's president, praising 54 years of bilateral ties. Big meeting again in Beijing. As to climate and rights, global deforestation targets remain far off track. A new report warns. And Venezuela is closing its embassy in Norway in response after Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to opposition leader Machado. All of them are far right, as you saw Machado today, offering to nationalize Venezuela's resources and sell them to American investors, but all together. Now, the U.S. condemned China's mass arrest of underground church pastors. Also, UK intelligence warned officials of heightened espionage threats from China, Iran, and Russia. And several parliament members were seen actually being paid by Russia to produce materials favoring Russian propaganda. And Zambia reached new debt restructuring deals with Chinese lenders. Meanwhile, remember I told you that Shane, the very cheap clothing, virtual store, is opening a physical store in Paris, and it led to massive protests in Paris. It has backlash from fashion houses, unions, city officials. Critics say the company's model undercuts local businesses and relies on labor exploitation. Brands are pulling merchandise from BHV Marais in protest. That's the one that is opening the store on behalf of Shane. In France, a state bank canceled plans to finance the building's purchase, and EU and US regulators are introducing new taxes on goods from Chinese fast fashion sites. And lastly, the so-called neutral China is now proven to aid Moscow with drone arsenal to fight Ukrainians. The Washington Post reports that China has significantly increased exports of drone components to Russia, including $54 million in lithium-ion batteries in June alone. These components are used in cable-controlled drones resistant to electronic jamming. Russian firms Rustak, ASFPV, and Striborg are working directly with Chinese suppliers and building joint production lines. This is something that, for instance, President Trump could bring up against Xi Jinping, right? And that's it. Lastly, I want to show you a video from Chinese theme park. They actually use drones to, portray dinosaurs, or essentially just keep people entertained in the theme parks. Take a look.
让一下。
It's a drone dog, or dog drone. And I just reminded myself that I didn't read out the whole thing about Pentagon. So please give me 2 seconds. So Pentagon Press Association urges reconsideration of unnecessary new affirmations required to obtain a press pass. When Secretary Access, that's what they write, DPA officially, when he came into office, Pentagon officials pledged to make this most transparent Department of Defense in history. Since then, we have seen an inordinate amount of time spent systematically limiting access to information about the U.S. military. Information vital to members of the military, their families, and American taxpayers, and the general public. This effort has culminated in an ultimatum to members of the Pentagon Press Corps. Surrender your press pass or sign a document acknowledging vague new policies that on their face appear to violate the First Amendment. This Wednesday, most Pentagon Press Association members seem likely to hand over their badges rather than acknowledge a policy that gags Pentagon employees and threatens retaliation against reporters who seek out information that has not been pre-approved for release. Our members did nothing to create this disturbing situation. It arises from an entirely one-sided move by Pentagon officials, apparently intent upon cutting the American public off from information they do not control and pre-approve. Information concerning such issues as sexual assault in the military, conflicts of interest, corruption, or waste and fraud in billion-dollar programs. Reporting by the Pentagon Press Corps involves issues that matter not just to the public, but also to the well-being of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians who protect America on a daily basis. Their potential expulsion from the Pentagon should be a concern to all. The Pentagon Press Association has made no recommendation to its members about whether to sign the new acknowledgement. Each reporter will have to make a final decision based on guidance from their individual media outlet. The PPA, however, continues to question why the problematic new acknowledgement is necessary. Fact: reporters in the Pentagon have always worn badges, and PPA members have no issue with doing so. Despite statements from Secretary Access and others claiming the issue is that our members don't want to wear badges, reporters have already had to wear identification badges inside the Pentagon and have done so without complaint. Fact: Pentagon access provided to reporters has always been limited to unclassified open spaces. Members of the Pentagon leadership have suggested that the new policy is needed because the press have been going to secret spaces and obtaining classified documents. This is flatly untrue. Access by members of the Pentagon Press Corps has always been limited to unclassified spaces, the same spaces that coffee shop employees, cleaning crews, and others with no security clearance are able to traverse daily. Long-standing press access rules posed no national security threat, which is why those rules continued without problem for decades across multiple administrations of both political parties. Fact: no other government agency requires any similar affirmation from the press. The White House and State Department do not require reporters to sign any similar acknowledgement to obtain access to their buildings. The same is true for other government agencies. Fact: there is no reason for Pentagon to require reporters to sign a new document. For decades, reporters seeking a badge to work inside Pentagon simply signed a single page from outlining certain access limits. The new 21-page document adds extensive legal claims, laying out unprecedented contentious about what is and is not acceptable news gathering and gagging Defense Department employees from the highest official to the lowest junior officer in the field from providing information to a reporter without permission. The Pentagon certainly has the right to make its own policies within the constraints of the law. There is no need or justification, however, for it to require reporters to affirm their understanding of vague, likely unconstitutional policies as a precondition to reporting from Pentagon facilities. The Pentagon's required acknowledgement is particularly problematic because it demands reporters to express an understanding that harm inevitably flows from the disclose of unauthorized information, classified or not, something everyone involved knows to be untrue. There is simply no need for this battle. The Pentagon has no reason for the new acknowledgement other than to chill both reporters and their sources, something many of our members cannot abide. Americans deserve honest, unvarnished, thorough reporting about their military. We urge Pentagon leadership to reconsider. So I really wanted to make sure that you have their response and the facts stated there, so we can close this, subject. Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but we need to stick to facts. Okay. So James says Facebook removed their ICE citing page. Oh, I heard 28-year veteran journalist has or will be turning in his past. I think most of them will. Tom Bauman from NPR. Most of them will. Because the point there is, it's sort of like when I get this invites to join Trump on Air Force One, it says, sign up for this trip. And once you signed, we will tell you what it will cost you, because press always pays for trips. And once we tell you what it will cost you, you can't unsign. Like, you can't say that, no, I'm not going. So you will be, whether you go or not, you will be paying anyway. And so here you're also signing document that regardless whether you were the cause of some type of distraction, you will be seen as the source of problem. In other words, like, by being at the Pentagon, if something goes wrong, you will be to blame regardless whether you were the reason to be blamed for or not. Which is like crazy, because then it will end up with lawsuits. And as an independent reporter, can you handle those lawsuits? Can you pay for them? No. And also for big corporations, that's an issue too. So thank you so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk about everything that happens in between. Meanwhile, I want to encourage you, if you haven't watched yet, yesterday I recapped in 11 minutes Trump's Middle East gamble, his visit to Tel Aviv. It's a visual. I did put all the facts there, also put all the visuals there as well, and also his visit to Egypt, where they signed this agreement that is in your news briefing that will come out in about 10-15 minutes. Just have to proofread it and send it to you. All right. So thank you for being here. Please join Onest Plus. This is where we meet on Fridays for off the record briefing. This week, we're going to learn about BlackRock and Blackstone. What do they control? How do they affect global policy? And we're also going to learn about the Chinese embassy in London and how this is a national security threat. So these briefings are for topics that I don't feel safe, talking about in public. And then last Friday of the month, this time it happens to be on Halloween, so you can come up dressed. We meet also for a Zoom meeting, sort of happy hour, where you can ask questions and we can talk about whatever you want, and you can also submit questions up front. Okay, thank you once again for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.